Yeah, I guess welcome to our April edition of the AI series with Global Chamber. It's everything is happening so quickly. We were just talking about just all the changes and what's happening around the world and here in the United States. And um, you know, if we zoom in on AI, if you can zoom in at all, it's so wide and growing. It's just moving at such an exponential pace. And so these calls for me are one of my favorite calls of the month because it's a chance for me to learn. It's a chance for all of us to connect, and it's a chance for me to spend some time with the great Yuka Nakasone. And so, Yuka, please introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you very much, Jacob. You didn't introduce yourself. So yeah, let me introduce myself. My name is Yuka Nakasone. If you don't know me, I am the executive director for the Global Chamber, starting from Barcelona, Madrid, and then Valencia and Malaga. I'm covering Spain and Japanese, but I've been here for about 26 years now in this region of Spain. Altogether in Spain, it's nearly 30 years. So I'm half Spanish. My adopted home country is Spain, but I'm Japanese. And from this perspective, I'm driving global business with the Global Chamber, and I'm techie, and I am also a consultant and implementing a big AI solutions for you know um, my clients as well. So that's who I am, talking about AI series for the Global Chamber. And today we wanted to kind of see the take the temperature, because we started this AI series last year, January, with Jacob. Thank you very much for partnering with me and bearing with me. And then we invited more than 12 people, 13, 14 people to talk about AI. But today we wanted to open up the microphone to the people who can be available to talk about AI, the current status, not looking at this from the professional's point of view, meaning maybe you are not implementing AI, maybe you are kind of feeling like, oh my God, everything is happening, I'm not doing at all. Or maybe you are implementing something, but you are kind of watching somebody else is doing something else. So we would like to know what you're feeling, what you're doing, what you're feeling about AI, and that would contribute our next sessions, how we can drive this AI series for the Global Chamber, especially for the members, right? So that's where we are. And also, I think there's a news from the Global Chamber. I think Cesar is there to talk about our AI solution. So that is a part of today's course as well. So Jacob, please introduce yourself, and just let's start with Cesar if he is.
Yes, yeah, no, sometimes I can get ahead of myself and want to just dive straight into the material. Intros have but yeah, so I'm Jacob Dietz. I'm one of those people that Yuka is speaking about. And I started to use ChatGPT back in January of 2023, and really saw so much value and have been primarily using it, working on different things in international development, from agriculture, community development, education. that's right when I sort of interacted with this technology and saw the value that it could bring. That's where my head went, is like, how can this improve things like the education system? So a little bit about myself. I've had a diverse career. So I was originally an oil and gas geologist for about 8 years after college. And then after that, taught middle school science for 5 years. And for the last 3.5 years, I've been doing different things from, fundraising for nonprofits, looking at public private sector collaboration, community development, and yeah, just really what I can say about AI for me is, like, I can confidently say that it is completely, this generative AI movement has completely changed my landscape. And uh, to me, it has been a safe space to be curious, to be creative, to test really big ideas, but in a practical sense. And for those that might not have as much experience using this technology, it's like, even if you start now, you're still ahead of the curve, and that's something that's really exciting to think about. And so the models that you're starting with now are, you know, miles and miles and miles ahead of where they were a couple years ago. And so, now what I'm doing now is I'm doing a lot in mental health. So I'm leading partnerships for the Global Mental Health Task Force. I'll drop the link in the chat after I'm done chatting. And one of the things we're doing is we're designing and building an AI database resource for mental health. And so a space for, where we're gathering interventions, um, different resources, research, data, and working with Deepak Chopra's foundation to build that. And so this is we're starting with an emphasis on gaming and immersive experiences. That's one of our working groups, and which is really what drew me into the task force. Is I'm really all about innovation and people trying different things in the world of impact. And so excited to bring them in one of these months to discuss that work, because there's been a lot of, just on a personal level, people using ChatGPT as a therapist, or someone to sort of work through struggles, or some of the problems that they're having in their lives. And so I just it's all inclusive. Any sector, any space, this technology can add so much value to your daily life. And so yeah, and we have some really exciting news from Global Chamber, and Cesar, I'll pass it off to you if you're ready to share this news.
Thank you, Jacob. And first of all, thank you, both Yuka and Jacob, for the leadership of what's been over a year now of the AI series. And so this has been an opportunity for members to connect, for members to learn about what's the latest on AI, touching on different industries. And so that's really enlightening. And yeah, my connection is a little bit spotty today, so I'm gonna turn off my video as we present, as we give a sneak peek about Globi. And Globi is an AI platform that's been developed by Colin Christie, our executive director in Manila, the Philippines. And at the first stage, it's gonna be helping our team members, our executive directors and global advisors to understand, like the newcomers. It will help us in the training um, process for the new ones, or even the existing ones, because there's a lot of information that comes and goes and goes. So I'm gonna show you how it's looking and give you a quick test on how the EDs are gonna be using it, and then eventually what we're trying to achieve with Globi is to have a way for members enter there and not only learn about, the global chamber and, chapters and who are our key people in certain regions, but also to connect with fellow members. And maybe they can type to Globi and say, hey, I'm interested in members that are working on the mining industry. And then Globi can pull that out from our database and make the recommendations. And that database is the key point here. That is, is what's gonna probably take a lot of time, because we need to make sure that it is up to date, that it's clean, in order for Globi to work the best way possible. So we have a domain, it's Globi at globalchamber.org, and it has a landing page. Just close my window here. Okay. So we have even a character there saying hi, and it gives you again a little bit of a summary of what Globi is for. And then you log in, and it's pretty much an interface very similar to ChatGPT or others that you know, right? And so it gives you a couple of initial or prompt questions. And again, they're now really laid out in a way to help executive directors, not really members. But some ideas are like, how can I build an advisory board, or how can I plan a successful event? And even about membership, let's just click these ones as a test. So what are the benefits of the Global Chamber membership? And it give you on the left side, it give you how Globi is thinking, how it's taking the context, and how it's positive about the response and the context that's given, and it give you details about it. And then in the right side, you'll see, and you will have access to some documents that are on the knowledge base, and will take you to, let's say, for instance, the SOP of the Global Chamber is already downloaded here and uploaded, I would say, in the Globi. So it would take you to a specific area where you can see this information. And the response, you can see it here. Connections in 535 metro areas. One membership gives you access to the entire world. Connections and opportunities, access to a global community, business growth, hands-on consulting, member discount. So it give you a little bit of information about the membership, and it ends always with some follow-up questions, like maybe let's see, what type of events and educational programs are available. So let's see what's come up with. And give you a summary there. And again, you get a new square here with the Globi's thinking, and again it updates the right side, and then it gives you the answer, like regional business, like specifically Sri Lanka, Uzbekistan, Turkey. I guess that's new information, because those are the three last one that we did in the last couple of weeks. So then functional areas, leadership development, specific market entry strategies. So it gives you ideas of the different type of events, and it says London, San Francisco. So it's getting the actual data that we have. Something that actually Colin did the last time was to embed the website of the Globe Chamber. So it put the entire website in a PDF, except one part which deals with the landing pages and the metro chapters, which is very essential. But at least for anything else about us, about events, it's taking a lot more information than what Globi had like 2 weeks ago. And then I can time, like, let's say, who is Doug Bronke? So you can also type your questions. Again, it's very similar to other AI platforms out there. And according to the information provided, this is the founder, and so keen about him. He was initial inspiration behind the idea of creating a global chamber. He disagreed with local politician. So it has Doug's history of how he built the global chamber. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to show. Yuka in particular, you that are an executive director will be giving the access to this in the next couple of days, and I will be talking and presenting this in the call next week. It got some, you can play a little bit with the how you like it to, start, slide as it was, system. Um, you can play a little bit with the colors. You can pick all, every user will be able to do that. And then the settings is more in the admin side, of course. And we as the admin will be able to evaluate, how many people connected today and even how many prompts and even the type of prompts. And eventually the goal of it is to get, how many people, how many members connected. Um, one members connected or what type of industries or specific topics members are searching for. So that's gonna be a great tool for us to really focus on our events and focus on our initiatives after all. So yeah, that's it. I think that was a sneak peek of the Globi. I don't know if anyone has a questions or suggestions. Happy to take it.
Yeah, there are a couple in the chat. You could, would you like to ask your question?
Does anybody have any questions? No?
I think Samuel asked a question is what's the
Yes.
technology behind Globi?
Yeah, so yes, Sam, can you come online and ask question to Cesar directly, please?
Yes. So I'm just curious, what is the technology behind Globi? How it works, or how they do it, or what technology they use for it?
Yeah, I think Colin is using Cloud, the AI platform as the engine of Globi. So it's a mix of things, and this is mainly Colin, the one who managed all this. But he has mentioned, like, I know there's a of course there's a this cloud AI that is linked to it, and there's also Supabase, which is hosting the whole amount of information that we put in there. And there are like two more things that I know Kali has mentioned, but I will need to go back to my notes. And sorry if I don't have the specific, but it's based on cloud.
Okay, thank you very much. So what I can see from from this, I even if I'm doing this AI series and I'm implementing AI in productive production environment, I am not, just to be clear, I am not involved in this AI development at Global Chamber per se, but I can see that this is an LLM solution, and most likely this is a RAG. RAG is a RAG. It makes retrieval, augmented, and generate. That means that this has a data lake, data container where all the maybe not structured data from the global chamber to generate the information from there. I don't know if you can understand what I'm saying. So maybe the team cleaned up the data from the global chamber and put in a container and applied the generative AI structure called RAG to create the content specific for global chamber. And as he's saying that this is for executive directors, I imagine that they applied also, they included also the manual for the executive directors so we can ask questions. Is
That's
this
exactly
what
the
it
case,
is,
Yuka. Yeah,
Cesar? Yeah?
that's exactly what it is. Yeah. And
Okay, so
what were the letters, the acronym that you used? Like CRA, or what was it you mentioned at the beginning?
what you say, Sam?
What was the terms that you used at the beginning? You used a
Okay,
term.
so yeah, different terms. I'm very, very sorry. It's good that you asked. RAG is R, retrieval, A, augmented, G, generation.
I see. Yeah. No, so
Okay,
that's exactly
and
how
this
you
is
explain it. That's exactly what it is.
yeah, and this is one of the structures of LLM, large language model, and large language model is really good at creating database out of unstructured documents, meaning if we have any digital document, like Word, PDF, Excel, whatever it is, we can generate a kind of database called vector database, and we vectorize, put the information with the three-pointed, let's say, the space. We can locate the word or segment by these kind of database. I don't know how to explain it in a very easy way. We can vectorize the information with the three-dimensional, let's say, space, which is the container of all the information. And when people ask something on the prompt or question area, the system would go to this data space to find the most relevant information, gather most relevant information, put together, and then generate. But there's one thing they don't think. Artificial intelligence still, they don't think too much. So it's the gathered information organized and generated in such a way that human can understand. Did it make sense?
Yeah.
So
And
that's what it is. Yeah.
one of the things that
Yes,
I wanted
Professor.
to mention to Cesar, Cesar and I have known each other for many years now. First of all, thank you, Cesar, for being here today and for explaining Globi. As you and I talked about it, what the members, and I'm the chair of the marketing committee in Los Angeles today, and one of the major questions the members have, and Ms. Nakazone also had the same question, like, for example, when we go to WhatsApp, who are these people? What do they do with the global chamber? What kind of competency do they have? And for example, let's say that I'm working right now in bringing 3 medical companies to the US, which is a very difficult topic to do. And it would be great for me to know who at the global chamber has got that kind of additional expertise, so I can be in touch with them, and then you can have a synergy. And I can see that Globi has got the direction. That's going to be really, very, very helpful. On the I position, Jacob, I have to say this. I'm using Copilot now for about a year. We design manual AI system for about 10, 15 years. So we're quite familiar with the environment. One of the major challenges and problem with AI today, especially with the chats, is the fact that they do not have the most recent data because they're not scanning the computer. And second one is they don't have private data. For example, in the United States of America, 97% of the business is small business, and 97% of the business has information that is not published because it's private. So that's a real enormous limitation of AI. And AI is great today to provide generic approaches, incredible summaries, but it seems like to me that a person, before being able to use successfully AI, needs to know the environment of the answers. For example, Jacob is doing work in psychology, and I've done work with mind dynamics for so many years. So we're talking about people dysfunctions, we're talking about comfort zone, we're talking about belief systems, et cetera, et cetera. And that AI can be very helpful because it's a database well studied, for example, Jung and Dr. Freud, et cetera. But in the world of business, I want you to know that a data information that is 3 months old is old. It's like in today's business, in tariff business, what's true yesterday is not true tomorrow. And if the AI cannot scan that information almost daily, which will be enormous, it becomes useful, yes, but very limited. So that's my conversation. So thanks to Python, but still a lot of limitations.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And I think, one of the things that, really approaching this technology that I've found most valuable, and what has helped me so much is sort of wearing two different hats. I've done a lot of research in my days, whether it was geology or education, and really take that type of approach, and not only of making sure it takes, I try to keep it looking at the information that I want it to look at, but also ensuring that it's at a broad level, respecting people's work. And that is one of the most important factors for me. But also I think of it as a teacher, me being a teacher, and it's also a teacher back. But when I was teaching, if I was just to sit up at the front and hand students, some worksheets, and be like, hey, get this done, I'm just going to hang out on my phone and watch Netflix, the results of the students probably wouldn't be that great. And it's the same thing with ChatGPT. It's like what you put in is what you get out. And how I've sort of been using it is more in that conceptualization. And so you can create these really creative concepts, but ensure like there's that sense of practicality and that embedded in there with saying like, let's make sure that this is innovative, this is creative, this is this can create a great impact, but it has to be practical. It has to be something that can do this, and this. And so, it's trial and error. It's going through, and if a result doesn't come that you think is worthy of using, it's like, all right, that's good. I learned from that. How can I adjust and improve? Because yeah, it can do so much, but it can't do everything. Who knows when it will be able to? It might be a year, might be 5 years, who knows? But it's something that you have to keep all these things in the back of your mind. And one note about Globi that I think is really important is, these spaces, these virtual spaces are critical. It's a great place to connect. It's a great place to learn. It's a great place to meet people from all over the world and learn. But we need to have that in-person aspect. And so as someone that is building a new chapter or improving a current chapter, this can be a great tool into figuring out, hey, what type of events can bring the most value to global chamber members in this region, thinking about all of the different sectors that members are working in. And it's the best tailor ever. That's something that I've always appreciated about it, is that if you put the time in to think, you can design things that really speak to whoever you're trying to speak to. So yeah, I'm really excited about the potential for Globi, and also seeing how it evolves.
Yeah, and Chris typed a comment on the chat. I invite you to come online and talk about, but I think if it's all automatic and everything is current and all the expertise are mixed and AI can think, maybe the global chamber doesn't have to exist, right? And I think it's not at all true. I mean, the global chamber can leverage the technology to be more productive, better for the members and for the executive directors, of course. But I found the human connections and human intelligence and cannot be replaced at the global chamber level either. For example, you said, Jacob, you're doing lots of work with people with some kind of discapacity, and you're a teacher as well. And to know this, when somebody comes with a question about something relevant for you, to point the member to you, I think the system cannot be so intelligent that to do it. I don't know if I explained it well or not. For example, when I connect somebody to somebody in the global chamber, I know these people, so I mix everything so that I have the intention of introducing these people because I know these people. And to have the system at that level, I think we're still lacking something here.
Yeah, and if I may make a couple of comments to Jacob. Jacob, we trained about 84,000 people in the field of personal growth in the past 40 years. And one of the things that's really interesting is that there is a behavioral model regarding how to put teams together. And one thing is providing data, is like Ms. Nakazone mentioned, and have a database. And the other one is really, how are these people behaving as an individual? Because teams are created based on the behavior of individuals with some backgrounds, of course. So what we found out in about 40 years, there are three major questions that people have in the field of personal growth. One is, how do I let go of the past that is stopping me from growing in my life? Two, how can I stay in the present? And three, how can I move in the future without anxiety? So I'll get together with you separately and we'll talk about that, because I'll very be glad to contribute, because the more information, Ms. Nakazone, an AI is like a baby, is start growing and learning.
Yeah.
And the cycles of learning, which is really the what ifs database in the old SQL, is about remembering and then using experiences for similar equivalent critical thinking. That's what we do at the university teaching students, right? So the AI, we are at the very beginning. The growth is going to be exponential. And the concern that many have in the business is AI going to be used for good or for bad, for evil? And unfortunately, AI, as of today, does not seem to have a conscience. It has a limited software that defines the domain and the boundaries on the design. But is my big concern for the future, and being old and having been in the business for so many years, is how do we make this planet a better place for all of us to live? Because we can see what's happened to the planet. So if AI is used for good, I think it's fantastic, stupendous, wonderful. If it's low is used for evil means, war, killing, etc., then we got a real problem.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And-
I
and Chris-
completely agree. And
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I
And-
wanted to throw it over to Chrissy to
mhm,
talk
please.
about education and bring in some
Yeah.
points that you were talking about and any questions
Yeah.
you might have.
Would you introduce yourself first, Chrissy,
Yeah,
please?
sure. Sorry to
And
be
about
very
it?
much put on the spot. My name is Chrissy Watson. I am at the Virginia Economic Development Partnership in their International Trade Division, and I run their Global Business Internship Program. So I am not an expert in global business. As mentioned in my comment, my background is in education, specifically elementary education. So made a massive personal and professional career switch last year, and it's been a wonderful opportunity to grow in both domains. And I wear my teacher hat regularly in meeting with clients, attentively listening to their needs, and taking joy in matchmaking young professionals and students as they explore experiential learning opportunities and kind of helping them bring their resumes to life to facilitate these very personal connections that if the AI doesn't have the data to use, they can't facilitate that. I think in the education space, there's some crazy ideas thrown out in that AI can take over a lot of what teachers do in a classroom or maybe what a leader does in a professional setting. And I think there's a lot to say on the topic, but I think my biggest argument with that is AI can't read a room. And there are so many nuances that people, specifically well-trained educators, do. Some people say, oh, you're so good with kids, or you have that magic touch. And that's not magic, and that's not so good. That's a lot of intention, and it's a lot of planning, and it's a lot of taking in the information of your audience in front of you, whether you're educating young minds or young professionals or seasoned professionals, and taking in all of that information to best meet them where they are, pivot when they need something different, facilitate these awesome connections that oftentimes organically happen through conversation, interactions, spaces to connect, like this. So yeah, it's a beast of a tool. I love how, Jacob, you kind of referenced it as the ultimate tailor, because
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time crafting job descriptions, composing really insightful takeaways from screening calls that I have with students as I recommend them to candidates. And once I feel like I have the meat of what I want to say, yeah, well, I ask AI to beef it up or fine tune it so that my words are accurate and as concise and clear as possible. I'm infamous for being very wordy, right? So it tailors what I already have, but it's still my work with the information I gave it and the experience that I brought to it as it relates to the setting of those interactions.
Yeah,
Wow, thank you very much.
I have a couple things that I love about what you said, and like one of, I am so grateful for my time as a teacher, and after leaving the classroom and having what I call a magical mystery tour of the last 3.5 years of my entrepreneurial journey, what I've observed is like, the world and companies, and it's just a big classroom, and some of us, me including, I've matured vastly since 7th grade, but there's a lot of things I'm still the same person. A lot of people, and so knowing those dynamics of people and understanding, and having that awareness, differentiation, is one of the hardest things to do in the classroom, and out in the real world. And this is a tool that can really help you differentiate. And one other thing that I really appreciate, and this was tied to this was back in February of 2023. I was in San Francisco for 3 weeks or so, and it was however many months after ChatGPT was launched, and so there were a lot of AI events, generative AI events happening in Silicon Valley, and one of them I went to was a generative AI music tool, and which the first half was more of a philosophical discussion, which I thought was really interesting, like asking like, is AI creative? Is a prompt creative? Is just the idea of creativity, and that's something that I think a lot of people were surprised about with this AI movement is how it has shifted to really impact the creatives and add to creatives' lives. And afterwards, there's a networking session, and I was chatting with this guy that had been in Silicon Valley since the 70s, and I loved what he said right off the bat. He's like, this is just a toy, and I was like, I agree, like because I see, back to education and so many systems. There's so much data, but how are we using that data in education specifically? All of this data that you get from testing, and in a year, by the time a lot of that data comes in, you're able to act on that data, the students are already on to the next grade. And so, there are so many ways that it can improve so many systems, and having more people use this that are in different fields, that are every conversation that I have and had a lot of times in 2023 was like, check out ChatGPT, like in nonprofits, people that are overwhelmed with a lot of work, and there's ways that it can take that load off your shoulders to be able to do the work that you enjoy, and the work that can create a lot of impact. And so, yeah, I love that comment, Professor, about good versus evil, and I think that it'll be both, because both of those types of people are using this technology. But I think uh, a lot of people just see the impact and the value, but there's also still a lot of fear attached to it, and the unknown brings anxiety and fear often.
Oh yeah, there is a point that I want to make to both Cesar and all of you, and Christy, sorry. There is having done work around the world, there is available today technology that allows to assess the level of satisfaction on the emotions from the face of people, visual recognition. So since you're a teacher, I've been a professor, the question is, how can we use AI in the classroom, or can AI teach? Well, if we can pair off a visual recognition of satisfaction of the student or any other kind of behavior with the AI, then we can empower the AI to be able to better manage the teaching or the delivery of the information. I'm sure you've been teaching so many years, probably. My feeling is, when I look at the classroom, I see people that look like deer sometimes with headlights. They don't know what the heck he's talking about. So I stop and I go back and retrieve them. But this technology paired off with AI as an input, I think can be very powerful. And especially, Cesar, if you can put this tool and you can have all the webinars you're running with the Global Chamber, this can tell you immediately the level of satisfaction of your membership. So you don't have anymore the kind of drop off that you have. You can start reducing drop off of membership.
That's actually one of the ideas, Professor. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We want to combine the webinars there, and also for information. Like we have yesterday a Globinar on how to expand to the US by M&As, and then it was a great information. So that's something that we can transcribe, put it in the database, and then if someone in Spain say, hey Globi, how can I get into the US? And that information will pop up there. So that's one of the ideas for sure.
And this information can be put out there on the internet, because people are scraping the information every day. So if people are asking this question, eventually, if you put it out there on the internet, on the form that everybody can see that not blocking the scraping, maybe they can come to Global Chamber looking for this information. Not just for the, for our RAC, for our AI system, but for the people to find us. If we have this valuable, very valuable webinar and information, why not putting out there so that people can come chasing this breadcrumb, So that's how I would use the goods webinar like that. And especially that webinar, I would love to watch. I couldn't because I was kind of flying, but so that's my suggestion. Not just blocking the information for the members, but for the world to see, so that we can be known for the good webinar, good information about the world trade and world, information.
And that with Globi, there will be different type of access. And so there will be the let's say the free access, like the one that anyone can join and get information. But then the connections access would definitely be for members and some additional internal information.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Following that comment of Samuel, like having Globi suggesting connections, that's really the end goal. That's really where we want to get, and that will be only closed for members. And but sadly, that's where the database we need to make sure that is all curated and up to date, and that is pulled not from an upload section, but is connected to a database that updates as soon as we make a change. Because members, people move from company to another, they move from country to another, and so that's the aspect that we need to make sure that is tied to a live database that changes by the day.
Yeah, great. So this is what I was asking, because the one thing is information, like non-structured information, but the other thing is member database that is, changing every single moment, because we are world operation, right? So that needs to be connected, and that is possible today's technology, and this is where we need to arrive, like achieve and make it available for everybody. So that I was asking in my previous question. And thank you very much for mentioning about that.
The idea. That's what we're trying to achieve. I think a couple months ago, probably by the end of 2024, I'm connected to Connect Americas. I don't know if you know what it is. It's like a database from the Inter-American Development Bank, and they announced that they needed beta tester for their AI platform. So I subscribed there. They picked me up, and so I use it, and it was basically it was very similar to what I showed with Globi, but it was tied to a database that doesn't update. Like it's just a directory connected to a Globi. Let's put it that way. And so I think when I use it, that's what came to mind. I say for Globi, I would like to have something that's live. Like it's really more, instead of just giving you the link to a directory, it's just maybe giving you the email, giving you the opportunity to make the connection directly. And so that's where we are with Colin, and see how we can move forward with that.
Yeah, great. And coming back to the education piece, thank you very much, Cesar. Coming back to the educational piece, I happened to be in the second meeting for European business schools just before I flew to Canada, and many global business schools got together in Barcelona, and I was present in person. And what we talked about came to the point that let's train the trainers, let's train the teachers, because teachers are not sure how to use these tools. So this is what we came up with. I was at the table with people from Chicago. It was a European meeting, but people from Chicago were there as well. And we talked about how we are not sure about, and teachers are not sure about the tool yet. And this is a tool. AI is still the state of a tool. That's the reason why the intention of the user augmented, like bad people going to be evil, and good people can augment their goodwill, so maybe this is what we need. Like, let's train global chamber members with Globi, so that's right? Because if we can put together a tool, it's stupid that we don't use it. And to be used wisely, we need to train the users. And to train the users, we need to train the executive directors or active members so that we can teach others. And I guess educational piece is really, really important here.
Yeah,
Any opinion?
back to one more thought on teaching, and this is just during my last year of teaching was 2020, 2021, and it was a overwhelming year for a lot of teachers. And I remember asking one of the assistant principals near the end, of some of the items that we had to get done. I asked him, I was like, is this for adults or is this for the students? And I think there are so many things that are put on teachers or put on everybody that, I think that this tool can, if taking from what you said, Yuka, is like, it can train people that, like administrators or people that are not day to day in a classroom, for example, to raise up awareness of what they're asking their staff to do. And I love that. I love that idea of a train the trainer type of program, and then also like creating like digital workbooks that Global Chamber could possibly use as like a revenue source. And so there's a lot of great possibilities.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any comments? Any opinion, Professor Ansis?
Yeah, there is. Thank you for asking, Ms. Yacon. There was a question that said, what suggestion you have for the future? I think today was great. I really loved the conversation. Thank you for the opportunity to listen and to share. What I found out in my life of teacher, the more you advance knowledge by categories of learning, and the more effective that is because you can get deeper. So, for example, we could have 1 month AI in the teaching industry. We can have another month AI in the promoting association growth industry, et cetera, et cetera. If we can create 5, 6, or 10 categories, then every week we can achieve a level of depth which is substantial, and the more substantial it is, and the more constructive can it be.
Great, thank you very much. Would you help us?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. We would love, Professor, we'd love to have a conversation with you and
develop something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's as it's almost crazy to think that it's been a year and a few months since we started this series, and we've just touched the surface. But we've had so many great events. One of my favorites, was we did a climate and AI. This was actually exactly a year ago around Earth Day, where we had sort of a debate. We had a debate where different professionals talked about the impact of AI on climate, and but I think honing in on specific applications and that would bring a lot more value to members. And so what we can do on the WhatsApp group as well is open it up and ask for some topics and dig into the community to see what people want to hear about and want to see, and some possible speakers.
Great. So does anybody have any comments? Otherwise, is Doug here or he dropped? Maybe he dropped. Right.
Listening. No, this is a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you all. It's been very helpful, and appreciate you guys moving forward with this Globinar today, despite Yuka being between airports. Thank you, Yuka.
Thank you very much. So let's keep moving together. Everybody, nobody is going to be left behind. That's, no members can be left behind. So let's help each other to create something at the Global Chamber and for the world. And thank you very much, Doug, for holding this space for everybody as usual. And thank you very much for everybody for coming today.
Yes, thank
With
you,
this,
everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yuka.
Thank you very much. Thank
and
you.
Jacob, and personally say thank you for your collaboration
Yeah.
today.
Yes.
Thank you, Cesar.
We have
Okay.
a conversation just in a few minutes on USMCA in North America. I think it's in 30 minutes, I think. And then we have a conflict because we have our Global Chamber Los Angeles
Yes.
starting in an hour.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're going to overlap half and half.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
we couldn't get around that. It is what it is. So and then I think we have something later this afternoon. We have
We have the League Opportunities, yeah.
and then tomorrow morning we have League of Opportunities, and we have the Phoenix Metro meetup, and then we have something else tomorrow. So it's, hey, it's another week of fun. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Doug.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you all.
you.
Bye.